The day I hired Rose, I had no idea my life was about to change forever. I had everything: wealth, a penthouse overlooking Lagos, a career that commanded respect. But none of that mattered the moment I collapsed in my marble-floored bathroom, my body burning with fever, my vision blurring. The last thing I saw before darkness swallowed me was Rose's panicked face hovering above me, her calloused hands cradling my head like I was something precious. And then, through the haze of my delirium, I heard her whisper words that sent a shock through my weakened body. "My child, I'm here. Mama won't leave you again." My name is Chisholm Adedeji, and by every measure, I had made it. At 32, I was one of the youngest senior partners at a top Lagos law firm, the kind of woman who walked into boardrooms and made powerful men adjust their ties. My penthouse in Ikoyi was sleek and impersonal, all glass, steel, and cold elegance, just the way I liked it. No clutter, no unnecessary emotions. I didn't believe in attachments. Not after growing up in foster care, shuffled between homes where I was either ignored or treated like an unpaid housemaid. By the time I aged out of the system, I had learned one hard lesson. The only person you can rely on is yourself. So when my previous housekeeper, Mama Nkechi, suddenly quit, claiming I was too difficult to work for, I didn't blink. I simply called the agency and demanded a replacement. That was how Rose came into my life. The agency sent her on a Monday morning. When I opened the door, I was met with a small, wiry woman in a faded blue wrapper and a headscarf tied tightly over her hair. Her hands were rough, her posture slightly bent, as if life had pressed down on her for too long. "Good morning, madam," she said, her voice soft but steady. "I am Rose." I barely glanced at her. "Your references?" She handed me a folded paper, neat but clearly photocopied one too many times. The agency had stamped it with approval. "Fine." "You'll find everything you need in the kitchen," I said, already turning away. "I don't like small talk. Just do your job." Rose nodded. "Yes, madam." And that should have been the end of it. It started with the food. I never told Rose what I liked to eat. Yet, every evening, I'd come home to ofen sala, a spicy, aromatic soup I hadn't tasted since I was a child, the exact way I remembered it. One night, I caught her humming as she stirred the pot, a lullaby, one that tugged at a memory so deep it made my chest ache. I froze. "Where did you learn that song?" Rose's wooden spoon stilled. She didn't turn around. It is common, madam. Many mothers sing it." I frowned but let it go. Then came the photos. I kept a few framed pictures on my bookshelf, old snapshots from university, a rare childhood photo from before foster care. One evening, I noticed they had been moved. The childhood photo, a faded image of me as a toddler, was now in the center as if someone had been staring at it. I called Rose into the living room. "Did you touch these?" Her eyes flickered to the photo, then to my shock, they filled with tears. "Madam, don't rearrange my things," I snapped, unnerved by her reaction. "Just clean." She bowed her head. "Yes, madam." But that night, as I passed the guest bathroom, I heard muffled sobs. Then I got sick. It started as a headache, then a fever so fierce it knocked me off my feet. I never got sick. I didn't have time for weakness. But this was different. My body burned. My muscles turned to water. The last thing I remembered was stumbling into the bathroom, then the world tilting sideways. When I woke, Rose was there. She had carried me to bed, placed a cold cloth on my forehead. Her hands trembled as she spooned bitter herbal medicine into my mouth, something that tasted like childhood. "Swallow. Nwam," she murmured. My skin prickled. Nwam. My child. No one had called me that in decades. I grabbed her wrist, my voice weak but sharp. "Why do you keep saying that?" Rose's face crumpled. And then, the words that shattered my world. "Because you are my daughter." Silence. The air left my lungs. My grip on her wrist slackened. Rose, this quiet, humble cleaner, was crying openly now, her shoulders shaking. "I didn't take this job just to clean your house," she whispered. "I took it to clean my conscience." And then she told me everything. How she had been a young mother trapped with a violent husband, how he had threatened to kill me if she didn't give me up. How she had spent 20 years in searching until a miracle led her to my doorstep. I stared at her, my heart pounding. This woman, this stranger was my mother. The room spun. I wanted to scream, to throw her out, to demand why she had waited so long. But then I looked into her eyes, and for the first time in my life, I saw myself. Sometimes the people we push away are the ones who love us most. How many times have we misjudged someone because of our own pain? If you were Chisholm, could you forgive? Or would the betrayal be too much? The words hung in the air between us like a storm waiting to break. Because you are my daughter. I, Chisholm Adedeji, the woman who never cried, who built walls so high no one could climb them, felt something inside me crack. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. My body trembled, caught between the urge to push her away and the terrifying need to pull her closer. Rose, was that even her real name, knelt beside my bed, her hands clasped like she was praying. Tears streaked her weathered face, cutting paths through the dust of decades of hardship. The woman who had mopped my floors and folded my clothes now sat before me as a ghost from a past I'd buried. "You abandoned me." The words came out colder than I intended, sharp as broken glass. Rose flinched. "I had no choice." "There's always a choice." My voice cracked, the fever making my head pound. "You left me to strangers. Do you know what they did to me? The homes I was thrown into?" Her breath hitched. She reached for me, then pulled back. "Nwam, if you let me explain." "Don't call me that." I shoved her hand away, my pulse roaring in my ears. "Get out!" She didn't move. "I said get out!" I hurled the glass of water beside my bed. It shattered against the wall, spraying shards across the floor. Rose stood slowly, her body folding in on itself like paper left in the rain. She opened her mouth, closed it, then turned and walked out. The door clicked shut behind her. Silence. I collapsed back onto the pillows, shaking. The room spun. My skin burned. But worse than the fever was the hollow ache spreading through my chest. 3 days passed. Rose didn't return. The penthouse stayed silent, the air thick with the scent of the unfinished pot of soup she'd left on the stove. I told myself I didn't care. I was Chisholm Adedeji. I didn't need anyone. But then, while searching for painkillers in my dresser, I found it. A yellowed envelope tucked beneath my socks, my name written in shaky handwriting. Inside, a letter, a faded photograph, and a tiny silver bracelet engraved with 2 words, Chisholm Adedeji. My hands shook as I unfolded the paper. My precious Adedeji. If you are reading this, it means I have failed to find the courage to speak my truth. For 28 years, I have carried your face in my heart. The day I left you at the orphanage was the day I died inside. Your father was a cruel man. When I became pregnant, he swore you would not live. The night you were born, he came home drunk with a machete. I hid you in the ceiling for 3 days. When I could no longer keep you safe, I took you to Sacred Heart Home and begged them to protect you. I marked your foot with a small scar so I would know you if I ever found you again. I have searched every year since. When I saw your photo in the newspaper last month, a brilliant lawyer, I knew it was you. Your eyes are still the same. I took the cleaning job because I needed to see if you were happy. Forgive me. You owe me nothing. But know this, not a day has passed that I haven't loved you. Mama. The photograph slipped from my fingers. A young woman in a torn dress holding a baby. Me. My vision blurred. That scar on my foot, I'd always assumed it was from some childhood accident. A sob tore from my throat. I called the agency Rose had quit. No forwarding address. I drove to the orphanage, now a crumbling shell, long abandoned. The old nun who ran it was dead. No records remained. For the first time in my life, I felt true panic. Then I remembered. The lullaby. The way Rose had hummed it while cooking. Omu em, bia nu o. My birth mother's song. I called my driver. Take me to Ajagunle. Ajagunle was a world away from Ikoyi. Narrow streets, rusted roofs, the smell of burning trash and frying akara. People stared as my Mercedes crawled through the dirt roads. I showed Rose's photo to market women. At first, no one spoke. Then an old mama, selling bitter leaf, squinted and pointed. Ah, Mama Nonye. She lives near the canal, 3rd alley. The house was a single room with a corrugated iron door. Through the cracks, I heard coughing. I knocked. Silence. Then a weak voice. Who is there? My throat closed. It's Chisholm. A gasp. A thud. The door flew open. Rose stood there, thinner than I remembered, her face gaunt. She swayed on her feet, one hand clutching her chest. Before she could speak, her eyes rolled back. She collapsed. The doctors said it was pneumonia, that she'd been sick for weeks, that she'd refused treatment because she had no money. I sat by her bed, staring at the woman who had given me life twice, once at birth and again by walking into it when I needed her most. When her eyes fluttered open, she froze. Then she tried to sit up. I will go. I didn't mean to trouble you. I caught her hand. Mama. The word hung between us, fragile as a soap bubble. Rose stopped breathing. Then a broken sound escaped her, and she clutched my fingers like I might vanish. You called me Mama. Tears dripped onto our joined hands. I wasn't sure which of us they belonged to. I brought her back to the penthouse, not as a cleaner, but as family. The first night, she tried to sleep on the floor. I led her to the master bedroom. This is your room now, she protested. But where will you... I kissed her forehead. I've waited 32 years to have a mother. Let me take care of you. We spent weeks relearning each other. She told me stories of her village, of the grandmother I never knew. I showed her my world, the courts, the cases I'd won. One evening, as we sat on the balcony watching the sunset over Lagos, she hummed that lullaby again. This time I joined in. Her smile outshone the sun. I used to think success was measured in awards and bank accounts, but now I know. The greatest wealth is a mother's love. And sometimes miracles come dressed in old wrappers, holding mops and second chances. If your greatest pain walked back into your life asking for forgiveness, could you open the door? Drop a comment. Could you forgive? Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy this story.